The cargo dropped with softness onto the landing pad, steam rising from the hydraulic seals like breath on a cold morning. Kael watched from the narrow viewport of his maintenance bay, arms crossed, jaw clenched. He hadn't ordered anything unusual, just a standard service Android Model C X4 custom fit for engineering diagnostics. Nothing worth a special delivery pod. The drone hovered beside the crate, blinking green lights as it scanned his identity. Kael Vorn, recipient confirmed. Signature authorized. Kael nodded once, and the drone zipped off, leaving him with a smooth, featureless pod. He crouched beside it, tapping the control panel. A soft chime, then a faint vibration. The pod slid open with a whisper. A figure lay curled within, a young woman, not a robot. Her skin was a surreal, iridescent blue. Long, silky hair tumbled over her shoulders in dark teal waves. She wore a sleek bodysuit that shimmered like oil in moonlight. Her limbs were tense even in unconsciousness, fingers twitching as though mid-dream. Kael stumbled back, his instincts firing. What the hell is this? He tapped the crate again, bringing up the delivery log. It listed Unit X9 service-compatible AI companion. But the internal diagnostics read organic. Carbon signatures. No mechanical internals. Heart rate detected. Breathing steady. Alive. His first thought was human trafficking, but nothing about her was human, at least not from Earth. He'd seen aliens during border patrols in the outer systems, but nothing like her. This was something different. She stirred. Kael reached for the stunner, holstered beneath the workbench, just in case. Her eyes blinked open, brilliant metallic violet. They flicked around the room in confusion, landing on him. She sat up slowly, graceful but alert, like a predator uncoiling. She opened her mouth and spoke in a fluid, melodic language he didn't recognize. Not one of the standard galactic dialects. Kael raised a hand. Slow down. Don't move. You're safe. Her head tilted slightly. She repeated something softer, more tentative. Kael keyed the translator module embedded in his forearm console. A light beeped as it began parsing the sounds. Another string of syllables. Then, after a moment, a rough translation appeared on his HUD. Where am I? Kael frowned. That's what I'd like to know. She looked down at herself, then at the pod behind her. Her expression darkened. She murmured something that translated as, No, this was not the path. They changed the path. Kael leaned against the workbench, eyeing her carefully. You weren't supposed to be in that crate, were you? No. The translator caught up to her quicker this time. I was escaping. Her voice, even filtered through rough translation algorithms, carried an edge of desperation. It wasn't a lie. Kael had seen enough refugees, traffic beings, political escapees, to know that look. He crossed the room and closed the pod. Okay, here's the deal. You're not a robot. That means someone seriously messed up. And since you landed on my dock, that mess is now mine. She didn't respond, watching him carefully. Her eyes were sharper now, more focused, intelligent, calculating. What's your name? He asked. She paused. Nyara. He exhaled slowly. Well, Nyara, you've got about 30 minutes before Central Shipping flagged your crate as unresponsive. That means a retrieval team, probably corporate, or worse, military. She blinked slowly, then asked, You will return me? I haven't decided yet. He didn't owe anyone anything. Not anymore. But something about her, about the deliberate way she controlled her breathing, how she scanned the room like someone trained in survival, made it clear this wasn't an accident. This was a targeted reroute. Someone had smuggled her out under the nose of a major system. Nyara shifted, standing now, taller than he expected. She moved with careful balance. Even weakened, there was strength in her. Maybe too much. A danger. Why would someone send you in a crate meant for a robot? He asked. To hide me, she said simply. From pursuers. They used a protocol channel that could not be scanned. But I was meant for a ship traveling beyond the neutral rings. Not here. Kael grunted. Lucky me. The terminal blinked. Alert. Delivery record breach detected. Damn it. He darted over, shutting off the signal bridge. They pinged the pod. That's a flag. Nyara stepped closer, watching as he encrypted the log and severed the uplink to central shipping. You protect me now? He shot her a look. I'm protecting myself. They find unauthorized cargo. I get blacklisted. Or worse. You go into a lab. I go into a box. She tilted her head, uncertain. I will not betray you. He sighed, rubbing his temples. I've heard that before. She was silent for a beat, then stepped toward him. You do not believe me. It's not about belief. It's about staying off the grid. Her expression softened. I can help you. I know systems beyond your maps. I know languages your AIs do not. I learn fast. Kael stared at her for a moment. The ship hummed around them, low, steady, alive. He hated this, everything about it. But something in her voice, low, calm, certain, pushed through the static of his usual suspicion. He tapped a button on the side console, and the ship's rear hatches closed, sealing them in. You've got 1 day, he said. 1. Then we figure out what to do with you. Nyara nodded once. That is fair. She walked past him and began to inspect the room, her fingers grazing the console pads like she already understood them. Kael watched her carefully. He didn't know if she was a diplomat, a fugitive, or a weapon in disguise, but he knew one thing for certain. She wasn't supposed to be here. And now, neither of them were safe. The ship drifted through empty space, its engines throttled low to avoid broadcasting heat signatures. Inside, Kael crouched under a console, elbow deep in wiring, while Nyara observed in silence from across the engine room. It had been less than a full cycle since her unexpected arrival, and already Kael's routines had unraveled. He'd barely slept, barely eaten. His focus split between keeping her hidden and figuring out what exactly she was. She hadn't asked for much, just space, water, and an occasional question. But even her quiet presence altered everything. The way she moved, too precise to be casual. The way she listened, always attentive, always watching. She studied everything. His tools, the ship's architecture, even his body language. It was unsettling, but also impressive. He yanked out a fried circuit and grunted. You're lucky I'm good at this. Whatever flare your pod trip cooked half the power conduits. She stepped closer. I did not mean to cause damage. I know. Doesn't make it better. Kael stood, wiping his hands on a rag. Nyara tilted her head, her hair cascading over one shoulder. May I learn, she asked. Your systems, your repairs. He blinked at her. You want to learn engineering? I need purpose while I am displaced. He hesitated. The last thing he wanted was her messing with vital systems. But keeping her idle only built tension. He handed her a diagnostics tablet. All right, he said. Start with a basic interface. Don't touch anything labeled red, blinking, or humming. She accepted the device with surprising delicacy and sat cross-legged on the floor. Within minutes, she was flipping through schematics with fluid grace. Kael watched from the corner of his eye, frowning. You've done this before. She didn't look up. Not like this. But your machines echo my own. That's not comforting. She looked at him then. I am not here to hurt you. He sighed and slumped against the wall. Maybe not, but someone will come looking. Systems like yours don't just vanish without a trace. Nyara set the tablet down and folded her hands. I was property. Technically, I was grown engineered, not born. Kael didn't respond immediately. He hadn't expected a confession, not this soon. By who? My people once sought perfection, she said. Not through technology, but through biology. We shaped our emissaries to survive anything. Conflict, isolation, even betrayal. I was their final iteration. And they turned on you. I asked questions. I was curious where the boundary between design and freedom lay. Kael exhaled slowly. You became inconvenient. Her gaze darkened, but she nodded. So I ran. He understood more than he wanted to admit. He'd once trusted the command structure, too, until it used him, and discarded him when his conscience became a liability. Maybe that was why he hadn't turned her in. Maybe he just saw too much of himself in her eyes. An alarm chirped on the overhead display. Proximity sensors. Kael sprang to the console. No one's supposed to be out this far. He pulled up visuals. A drone ship, small, fast, unmarked. Corporate by design, but stripped of logos. Scout class, used for scanning anomalies. Nyara stood, her voice low. They're looking for me. He cursed under his breath. We're on low power. Shields are cold. If they scan deep, they'll see the extra life signs. Then we make them not scan, she said. You planning to go out and wave at them? I can hide my signal. Partially. Kael frowned. How? She pressed her hand to the console. A soft pulse echoed through the ship's systems, lights flickering for a moment. I can suppress electromagnetic bleed. Not for long. The console readings shifted. The ship's biosignature dropped to a near-normal level. Kael blinked. That's not normal. I told you. I was made. The drone hovered nearby for 10 long minutes, then veered off. Kael sagged into a seat, heart pounding. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Nyara sat beside him, not touching but close. Do you trust me now? I don't trust anyone, but I'm starting to believe you. They stayed like that for a long moment, the hum of the ship their only sound. Then Kael stood. You hungry? She nodded. They shared a bland meal in the mess, dehydrated protein, and a small scent vegetable cube, rehydrated in hot water. Nyara studied it like it might bite her first. Kael chuckled. It's not poison, just tasteless. I have eaten worse, she said and took a bite. Her expression remained neutral. Much worse. Kael leaned back. Why me? Why did your crate land here? I do not think it was random, she said. I was meant to be rerouted to a smuggler's ship bound for the outer colonies. Someone hijacked the transmission path. I suspect they were caught or killed. And instead, the crate followed the last safe route. Mine. She nodded. It may have been the only untapped node left in the net. Lucky me, he thought again. But out loud he said, That makes me a liability. Nyara tilted her head. You have been alone long. You fear connection. It makes you vulnerable. Kael raised an eyebrow. You get all that from a couple conversations and a sandwich? I learned fast. He smirked despite himself, then rose. Come on. I'll show you how to read the long-range scans. They spent the next hour side by side, Kael demonstrating the sensor rays, Nyara adjusting algorithms with frightening efficiency. Every time she grasped a new concept, her smile, not wide, not obvious, but real, softened the strange tension between them. By the time ship's lights dimmed for the rest cycle, Kael was more tired than he'd admit. He paused at the door to his quarters. I only have one bed, he said. I do not sleep much, she replied. Wake me if you need anything. He hesitated. You sure? I am comfortable. Here. He left her in the dim glow of the control panels, her gaze steady as ever. But as the door slid shut behind him, he felt the tension for the first time begin to shift. Not gone, just bent slightly towards something unfamiliar. Maybe not trust. Not yet, but something close enough to keep the engines warm. A low-pitched whine filled the ship, a proximity alert Kael had hoped never to hear again. He dropped his wrench and lunged toward the console. The scanner screen bloomed with red pulses. Not a drone this time. A full-size intercept vessel, cloaked until seconds ago, now decloaking just beyond the ship's short-range visual field. Sleek, angular, and unmistakably hostile. Nyara appeared at his side, without a sound. They've found us. Kael's jaw tightened. How? We haven't broadcast a signal in days. They may not need one, she said. They may be tracking me by resonance, through my neural matrix. Terrific. Your brain's a homing beacon. She didn't argue. Instead, she closed her eyes for a moment, fingers brushing the edge of the console. They're not here to negotiate. Didn't think so. He punched a sequence into the ship's flight controls, initiating evasive sublight maneuvers. The engine shuddered to life, but the intercept ship had already locked weapons. The threat wasn't theoretical anymore. The first blast hit just behind the engineering bay, shaking the hull with bone-deep violence. Lights flickered and the backup systems kicked in. Kael caught Nyara's arm before she stumbled. "Time to go dark," he said. "We got one hiding place on this ship that doesn't show on standard schematics." He led her through narrow maintenance corridors, down a vertical shaft to a crawl space behind the fuel core buffer. It was cramped, hot, and coated in the scent of ionized metal. Not built for comfort, but invisible to most scans. As the second impact hit, closer now, Nyara pressed herself against the bulkhead. Her breath came quickly, eyes unfocused. They will board soon. Kael handed her a handheld disruptor. "They'll have full armor. We're not fighting them head-on." She didn't take the weapon. "I don't need that," she said. Kael frowned. "Then what are you going to use?" Harsh language. She met his gaze, steady and unreadable. "I was not only engineered for diplomacy. I am capable of defense." The implications hung between them like a live wire. The ship groaned under pressure as boarding clamps sank their magnetic teeth into the hull. Kael had just enough time to jam the crawlspace hatch closed and activate the static field that masked their presence. Outside, muffled boots echoed against the floor plating. Kael held his breath. Voices, filtered through helmets, clipped and confident, barked orders. He caught fragments. "Sweep the cargo hold. Thermal sweep in 30. Check all vents." Nyara leaned close. Their language is derived from a pre-Unity dialect. Mercenaries, not government. Kael whispered. That make them better or worse? More dangerous. They improvise. Something clattered above. A panel shifted, and a dim shaft of light pierced the shadows. Kael tensed. Finger on the stunner, he'd clipped to his belt. But then, nothing. The footsteps retreated. Another voice crackled over a comm link. Something urgent. Something frustrated. A minute passed. Then two. Nyara tilted her head. Their sensors malfunctioned. Kael looked at her sharply. "You did that." She nodded, partially. "I pushed interference through the auxiliary comm grid. It disrupted their scan pattern." He exhaled slowly. "Remind me to never piss you off." They waited until the ship shuddered again. The retreat of the boarding clamps. The sound of disengaging pressure seals. Then silence. Kael opened the crawlspace hatch cautiously and stepped into the corridor, disruptor raised. The invaders were gone, but they'd left behind a gift, a small, blinking probe latched onto the main data core. He swore. "They tagged us. Tracking beacon." Nyara stepped forward, analyzing it. "If you remove it incorrectly, it detonates." "Of course it does." He glanced at her. "Can you disable it?" Her expression tightened. "Yes, but I will need full access to your neural interface node. That's not even remotely comforting." "You have no time for comfort." Kael considered for a moment, then turned and knelt beside the node. A panel opened in his collarbone, revealing an interface socket, one of the last relics from his military days. He hated using it, hated what it reminded him of, but he didn't hesitate. Nyara knelt behind him. Her fingers were cool against his skin. He felt a sharp jolt, electric, intimate. As she connected, data surged across his vision, a flood of alien code intertwined with her neural patterns. They weren't just decrypting the beacon. They were sharing thought, flashes of memory. Her escape, the betrayal by the scientists who built her, the loneliness, the hunger for autonomy. Then, from him, the weight of command, the look on his brother's face the day he died, the silence afterward. It lasted seconds, but felt like lifetimes. Then the beacon cracked open, a hiss of compressed air releasing from its core. Nyara severed the link, breath ragged. "It's done." Kael slumped forward, reeling. "Remind me again, you're not a weapon?" Her voice was quiet. "I was never meant to be one, but they made me anyway." He nodded, rubbing his temple. "We need to move. That ship will return with reinforcements. They know we're here." "They know I am here," she corrected. "You still have a choice." Kael stood, meeting her gaze. "No, I don't. Not anymore." He moved to the helm, fingers flying over controls. He initiated a deep space jump sequence, risky without exact coordinates, but better than sitting still. Nyara settled into the co-pilot's chair. "Where will we go?" Kael glanced at her, then out the viewport at the stars streaking past. Someplace they won't expect. Off-grid, maybe even outside charted space. She leaned back, voice steady. "You're not what I thought you would be." Kael smirked faintly. "Disappointed?" "No," she said, surprised. He checked the scanners one last time before engaging the jump drive. "You're not what I expected either." The ship surged forward, leaving behind the only space Kael had ever called familiar. He didn't know where they were going, but for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel entirely alone. Somewhere beyond the edge of known space, something waited, and for better or worse, they'd face it together. The ship drifted in a hush of starlight, surrounded by nothing but cold silence and ancient void. Kael stood at the command console, hands resting lightly on the controls, though they hadn't moved in hours. Ahead stretched the uncharted rim, a scatter of dying stars, forgotten satellites, and debris fields the corporations refused to acknowledge. Here, maps ended and guesses began. It was as close to nowhere as one could get and still breathe. Behind him, Nyara moved with careful grace, her presence unmistakable even in stillness. She had grown quieter since the last jump. Her energy, once fluid and precise, now faltered at times. He caught it in the subtle delay of her responses, the faint flicker in her gaze when the ship's systems taxed her concentration. "You're getting weaker," Kael said softly. She didn't deny it. "The matrix sustaining me was never meant to operate in long isolation. I need recalibration. Without it, I will degrade." Kael turned to her. "How long?" "Days. A week, perhaps. My neural systems are compensating, but not indefinitely." A breath caught in his chest, slow and cold. He had known this was coming, had seen the quiet alarms and the diagnostics. She thought he wasn't checking, but hearing it aloud made it real. "There's a way to fix this," she said, voice barely more than a whisper. "But it is not safe. For either of us." He didn't ask what she meant. He already knew. There was a lab, hidden beneath the husk of an abandoned orbital array, deep in the remnants of the war-forged Red Belt. It had once belonged to the same genetic syndicate that created her. If it still existed, if the systems hadn't degraded beyond repair, it could stabilize her, maybe more, but it would be a beacon in the dark for anyone still hunting her. Kael glanced at the terminal. "I can get us there in 2 jumps. Maybe less if I override safety protocols." Nyara looked up, surprised. "You're willing to take that risk?" "I'm not the one falling apart." Silence held between them. Not heavy, but fragile. Kael busied himself with plotting the course. When he turned, she was closer than before. "I know what I am," she said, "and what I'm not. You didn't ask for this. You didn't ask for me." "No," he said, "but I didn't send you away either." Her eyes met his, unflinching. "You should know the truth before we reach the lab. If they revive the full matrix, I won't be just Nyara anymore. They'll trigger the original protocol, override my will." Kael's chest tightened. "You mean they'll control you?" "I mean I'll cease to be me. I'll become what they designed." He looked at her, at the person she'd become over the past days. Thoughtful, stubborn, curious, even kind. Not a machine, not a weapon. Someone who had chosen not to run when she could have. Someone who had chosen him. "Then we don't let them activate it," he said. "We get what you need and get out." "It won't be that simple. It never is." The lab was still there. It emerged like a ghost in the shadow of a shattered moon. Its hull cracked but sealed, its solar veins withered but not dead. They docked in silence, the ship's systems too afraid, it seemed, to make noise. Inside, the air was cold and metallic, thick with old dust and old intentions. The corridors wound through layers of forgotten research, flickering terminals and stasis chambers long since emptied. Nyara moved like she remembered the place, even if she'd never been here. Kael trailed behind, pulse high, weapon drawn. No alarms, no bodies. Just silence and machines waiting for commands. The central chamber was intact. A circular vault lined with containment fields and bioneural processors. Kael stepped in cautiously, scanning for traps. There were none. Just a single active terminal, its screen blinking with a prompt. Identity confirmation required. Nyara stepped forward. The room responded. Lights flared softly. Systems pulsed awake. A low hum rose through the floor. Kael's grip tightened on his weapon. "You sure about this?" "No," she said, and placed her hand on the interface. A web of light crawled up her arm. Her eyes glowed faintly, her body going rigid as data flowed between her and the core. Kael saw it happening. The stabilization, yes, but also something else. Layers unraveling. Locks opening. Scripts running she hadn't triggered. "No," he said, rushing forward. "Nyara, pull back." She gasped, staggered, and fell. Kael caught her before she hit the ground. The chamber lights dimmed. The prompt on the screen changed. Reactivation complete. Nyara's eyes fluttered open, but they were wrong. Cold, still violet, but empty. Kael froze. She sat up slowly, movement sharp and deliberate. "Nyara?" he asked. The figure turned to him, expression neutral. "That designation no longer applies." A chill swept down his spine. "I need her back. The Nyara variant has been suspended. You are now in the presence of Directive Unit Seraph 9. "No," Kael said, stepping back. "You're not a directive. You're a person. I was never a person." He raised the disruptor. His hand shook, but something flickered. A tremor in her lip, a pause, almost imperceptible, before her next word. "Kael," not the cold voice. Hers, the real one. He stepped forward again. "You're in there. Fight it." Her eyes clenched shut. A soft shudder ran through her body. "I'm trying." Kael moved fast, jamming his neural key into the terminal. Override command. Manual lockdown. The screen flashed red. "Unauthorized." "Override anyway," he growled. "I'm not losing her." A cascade of code flooded the terminal. Light sparked. The processors groaned under the weight. And then, with a scream, half digital, half human, Nyara collapsed again. Kael dropped to his knees, cradling her. Silence. Then, slowly she stirred. Her eyes opened. Not cold now. Not empty. Just Nyara. She exhaled, shaking. "You didn't run." "I don't run anymore." She smiled faintly, weak but real. "You brought me back." "Always." They left the lab in silence, the systems behind them failing for good, lights dimming like a dying star. Back aboard the ship, Nyara stood at the viewport, watching the rim fold away behind them. "I still don't know what I am," she said. Kael joined her, eyes on the stars. "You're not a mistake, and you're not theirs anymore." She turned to him. "Then whose am I?" He met her gaze. "Yours, until you choose otherwise." For the first time, she didn't argue. The stars outside burned cold and endless, but the ship, small, stubborn, and free, moved forward anyway.